Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside Thailand. Today's story comes from Marco, a 42-year-old Mexican American who thought he'd finally found peace and maybe even love in Chiang Mai. He wasn't chasing bar girls or living wild. He saw himself as different, smarter, more grounded. But as you'll see, that didn't protect him. This one takes place over Christmas 2024. What started with quiet cafes, rooftop dinners, and promises of Thai culture turned into silence, heartbreak, and a very expensive lesson. It's raw, it's frustrating. And if you've ever thought that could never happen to me, you might want to hear Marco out. Let's get into it. Here's Marco's story in his own words. Hey, I wasn't sure if I should write this. It's been almost a full year now since it all happened. Christmas 2024, but the memory still hits me like a punch to the gut when I least expect it. I'll be in the shower or walking past a cafe and suddenly I'm right back in Chiang Mai. Right back in that damn silence. Anyway, I figured maybe writing it out would help. Or maybe it'll just be a warning for someone else out there thinking they've got it all figured out. I'm Marco, 42 years old, Mexican-American, grew up in San Diego, spent the last decade doing enterprise IT sales, Zoom calls, cold leads, quarterly goals. I made good money, dressed nice, had a 2-bedroom condo in Mission Valley, and a gym membership I actually used. From the outside, things looked solid, but inside, I was running on fumes. Early last year, 2024, everything started slipping. My girlfriend dumped me in February, called me emotionally unavailable after 3 years together. Work got stale. I couldn't sleep. I'd go to Trader Joe's just to feel something. I'd catch myself scrolling Instagram at 3 a.m, looking at people living slower, simpler lives, and wondering how the hell they pulled it off. Then a buddy of mine, Mark, we went to UCSD together. He messages me out of nowhere. Still burnt out? Come to Thailand, bro. It'll fix your soul. I laughed it off, but the seed was planted. Next thing I know, I'm Googling one-way flights and watching YouTube videos about living in Chiang Mai for under $1,000 a month. By July, I'd talked my boss into a sabbatical, 6 months off. I told him I'd use the time to recharge, maybe study trends in Southeast Asia for our APAC division. Total lie. I just wanted out. I landed in Chiang Mai at the start of August. I remember stepping out of the airport into the heat, heavy and still, like someone threw a blanket over me. I took a cab to Niman, the trendy expat district. Every street was lined with cafes, art galleries, smoothie shops. Monks walked past kids in Supreme hoodies. It was weird, but it worked. I rented a serviced apartment with a rooftop pool and weekly cleaning. Started each morning with pour-over coffee, papaya, and the illusion that I was finding peace. I told myself I wasn't here to party, wasn't here to fall in love. I was here to heal, meditate, read, maybe grow a beard. But yeah, you probably already guessed I didn't stick to that plan, because then I met June, and everything changed. It was sometime in mid-October, just before the Loy Krathong festival. I remember because the city was already stringing up lanterns, and the local shops had started playing cheesy Thai Christmas covers. Mariah Carey with a bamboo flute in the background. I was walking back from this co-working cafe near One Niman, earbuds in, still sweaty from the gym, when I passed a coffee stall I hadn't seen before. It wasn't one of those dinky little carts selling instant mix with condensed milk. No, this thing had polish. Matte black counter, slick branding, single origin beans. And behind the counter, June. Now, let me be clear. She wasn't subtle. This woman knew exactly how to catch a man's eye. Tight brown dress, high ponytail, heels too nice for the sidewalk. And yeah, her figure. She'd clearly had work done. You didn't have to be a genius to spot it. But instead of setting off alarms in my head, I just thought, she's investing in herself. Good for her. That's how deep in the delusion I already was. I ordered a cold brew. She smiled like she'd been expecting me. Perfect English, no hesitation. Not the usual rehearsed phrases either. She asked where I was from, guessed San Diego before I said it. Told me she used to work in hospitality, 4-star hotel in Phuket, front desk supervisor. Said she left because she wanted something quieter, something authentic. I nodded along like I understood. We chatted for 10 minutes. I liked her energy, smooth, confident, but not pushy. And unlike every other interaction I'd had with women in Thailand up to that point, she didn't flirt for tips. She wasn't trying to pull me in. At least that's what I thought. Before I left, she handed me a punch card, smiled and said, "You come here 5 times, I'll make you something special." I laughed and told her I'd hold her to that. It felt playful, harmless. But that night I found myself thinking about her, more than I should have. I didn't even drink that much coffee, but the next morning I walked 15 minutes out of my way just to order another. And just like that, I was hooked. Not just on the cold brew, on her. She knew exactly how to make it feel like it was my idea. You know how most people treat you in tourist towns? Like a walking wallet. Fake smiles, forced small talk, then the upsell. I'd felt it a dozen times since arriving in Chiang Mai. Taxi drivers who circled the block. Massage shops with special menu. Women who laughed too loudly at jokes I hadn't even finished. But June wasn't like that. The 3rd time I came to her stall, she didn't even let me pay. Just handed me an iced Americano and said, "You look tired. Today's on me." I was flustered. Nobody had done something that kind since I landed. I offered to tip double. She refused. Just smiled and asked if I wanted to sit for a bit. That was the first time we talked properly. Not just cafe banter, real stuff. She told me she was 38. Said she'd been married once. Thai guy. Didn't work out. Had no kids. Claimed she ran the coffee stall herself every day from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and lived with her mother in the old part of town. She made it sound modest, simple, proud. I told her about San Diego, my sabbatical, my plans to slow down. She leaned in and said, "Most foreign men who come here, they want to play. You don't seem like that." And God help me, I believed her. She told me I had a gentle face, that I looked like someone she could trust. I should have known then, when someone tells you everything you want to hear right off the bat, it's not intimacy, it's a pitch. But back then, it felt electric. Like maybe this whole Thailand thing meant something. Maybe the universe had finally thrown me a bone. A few days later, she invited me to sit on the side bench next to her stall while she worked, just quietly keeping her company while she prepped orders. I brought my laptop and worked from there like some lovesick intern. Customers came and went. She always introduced me with pride. "This is Marco. He's from California." Said it like I was a celebrity. I told myself this was real, not like those sad old guys chasing 22-year-olds around Soy Cowboy. No, this was grown up, balanced. I mean, she was only a few years younger than me. She spoke better English than half the guys I worked with. She wasn't clingy, didn't ask for anything, at least, not yet. And that was part of why I fell harder. She didn't have to chase. She let me do the running and I ran. Fast. It started small, like all bad ideas do. I was sitting at her stall one morning in late November, the weather starting to cool a bit, sky clear, her hair tied back under a beige visor that made her look like she'd just walked off a golf course. She was working hard as usual, multitasking like a pro, pulling espresso, blending smoothies, chatting with customers in Thai, and then switching back to me in flawless English like it was nothing. I admired that. Still do, in a way. But then I noticed her machine was sputtering, like the steam wand wasn't holding pressure right. She smacked the side of it and muttered something under her breath. I asked if she wanted me to take a look. She smiled and said, "No need, it's old. One day it will die, but I'll manage." I'm not sure why, but that hit me hard. This woman was busting her butt every day, making better coffee than half the cafes in Nimmen, and doing it all with second-hand gear. I was sitting there with a MacBook Pro, sipping oat milk lattes, talking about finding purpose. She was surviving. I felt useless. I wanted to help. The next day I did a little research, found a sleek Italian espresso machine on sale, high pressure, dual boiler, built to last. 72,000 baht, which came out to just over $2,000. I could have blown that on bottle service back in San Diego without blinking. Here, it would change her whole setup. Make life easier, help her scale, as I told myself. So I bought it. Didn't ask. Just did it. Had it delivered while she was out getting groceries. I was waiting when she got back. I'll never forget her face when she saw it. She froze, then looked at me like I'd just handed her keys to a new car. She covered her mouth and whispered, "Why would you do this?" I told her the truth, or at least what I thought was the truth. Because I believe in you. You deserve better. She cried. Not dramatic sobs, just tears down her cheeks as she touched the machine with both hands. Then she hugged me, tight. That was the first time she really held me, long enough that I started believing it meant something. That night she made me dinner at her apartment, chicken curry and jasmine rice served on little mismatched plates. We sat on the floor and ate cross-legged while the fan spun overhead. She put on Thai love songs, lit a candle, called it Simple Thai Romance. I should have noticed there was no family photo on the wall, no mail, no clutter, nothing personal. The place looked like an Airbnb, but I didn't care, I was in it. I told myself this wasn't one of those transactional Thai flings. This was support, partnership, investment. That's the word I kept using. I'm investing in her. Looking back, it's insane how easy it is to lie to yourself when someone's smiling at you like you're the centre of their universe. It was mid-December when the conversation shifted. We were sitting at a rooftop bar just outside the old city. You know the kind. Soft lighting, fairy lights, draped between potted plants, couples clinking glasses over overpriced cocktails. I'd taken her there after work, told her she deserved a break. She wore this silky dark red dress that made me forget what I was even saying half the time. Heads were turning. Not that I blamed them. We were talking about holiday plans. I mentioned how Christmas back home used to be a big deal for me. Family, food, chaos. She smiled and said, "Thai people don't celebrate the same way. We show love with generosity. We honour family." I nodded, trying to be culturally sensitive, whatever that even meant. She leaned in and said, "You know, in Thai culture, when a man loves a woman, he shows it through giving. Not just to her, but to her family too. Especially during New Year or Christmas." She said it so gently, like she wasn't asking, just informing. I asked what kind of giving she meant. She looked embarrassed, said she didn't want to pressure me, but then she added, "My mum never had much. She's old now, still works part-time at the hospital. I always dreamed of giving her gold for Christmas. Just a little necklace, not flashy." There it was, subtle, almost graceful. I could have said no, should have, but I didn't. I told myself it was sweet, that she wasn't asking for herself, that this was just me being thoughtful, part of the experience. So I went to the gold shop near the Thafé gate and picked out a dainty necklace, real gold, 22 carat, about 18,000 baht. When I gave it to her in a little red box, she gasped like a teenager, said, "You're already part of the family." That phrase did something to me, but it didn't stop there. Next, it was her younger brother. She said he'd been saving up for a new phone, but could only afford a cheap Android. I told her I'd help, ended up buying him an iPhone 14 Pro. Overkill, I know. But again, she made it sound like this was normal. "It shows respect," she said. Then it was her cousin, some woman named Fon, who apparently helped June during a rough patch years ago. I never met her, but June told me Fon always dreamed of owning a designer bag. So I got her one. A real one. Michael Kors, navy blue with gold trim. 14,000 baht. Each gift came with another kiss on the cheek, another grateful smile, another night where she pulled me close and whispered things that made me believe I was building something real. I wasn't keeping track of the total. I didn't want to. It felt good to give. That's the truth. It made me feel needed. And in my head, this wasn't me being played. This was me participating in Thai culture, earning my place. She never once said, "Can you buy this?" She just told me the stories. Let me do the math. And I did. With my heart, not my brain. It was maybe 5 or 6 days before Christmas, and we were sitting in the back of a grab car, inching through traffic near Maya Mall. The city was packed, tourists everywhere, lanterns going up, Christmas lights wrapped around palm trees like it made any kind of sense. June was beside me, glued to her phone, tapping out messages in Thai with her lips pressed tight. I asked if everything was okay, and she gave this small sigh like the weight of the world had landed right in her lap. Then, without looking up, she told me her aunt's house in Chiang Mai had flooded. Said the roof collapsed during a storm and the whole place was soaked. I said I was sorry to hear that, asked if everyone was all right, and she nodded, said her aunt was staying with neighbours for now, but that repairs were going to be expensive. Then she added that her family was already trying to collect money in the village, but it wasn't enough. She never made eye contact, just kept typing. I asked how much they needed, and she kind of half shrugged and muttered, "Maybe 45,000 baht, but I don't expect you to help. It's just family stuff. Thai people solve problems together." I'll give her credit, she knew how to play it. That "I don't expect you to help" line was the hook, because once someone tells you that, it becomes all you want to do. I didn't want to be another foreigner who ghosts when things get messy. I wanted to be the guy who showed up, the guy who understood Thai culture, who respected her family. I told myself this wasn't about money. This was about showing her who I really was, and more importantly, who I wasn't. So I pulled out my phone right there in the car, logged into my banking app, and transferred the full 45,000 baht straight to her account. No questions, no conditions. Just pressed send and turned the screen toward her. She stared at it like it was a bouquet of roses. Then she kissed the back of my hand, and whispered, "One day, my family will thank you properly. You're already like our own." She said that a lot, like family. Sprinkled it into conversations like seasoning, just enough to make it stick in my head. It felt good, I won't lie. I'd been feeling adrift for months, even before Thailand. And here she was, making me feel like I finally belonged to something again. That night, though, she didn't come over. Said her mum needed help with something, and she had to stay in the old part of town. I said no problem, of course, and tried to sound casual. But I stayed up anyway, just in case she changed her mind or messaged late. She didn't. It was the first night in over a week that I slept alone. I remember lying there in the dark, staring out at the city lights, telling myself this was what love looked like, real love. It meant sacrifice. It meant trusting someone even when you didn't understand everything. I truly believed that. Looking back, I wonder if she was already gone by then. At least mentally. Maybe she'd gotten everything she needed, and now she was just winding down the clock. The days leading up to Christmas should have felt magical. Chiang Mai was buzzing with tourists, the streets lit up with plastic snowflakes and paper lanterns. Every cafe had some kind of Christmas special, eggnog cold brew, peppermint lattes, whatever they could make. Sound Western. I should have been soaking it all in, but something felt off. It wasn't anything big, not at first. Just little things, like how June's replies started taking longer. Not hours, but longer than usual. She used to respond instantly, sometimes before I even hit send. Now there were delays. A few hours here, the occasional, sorry, busy with mom, there. She stopped calling me baby, started calling me Marco more often, which sounds small, but when someone changes how they speak to you, it lands weird. You feel it in your gut before your brain catches up. One night I called her while she was supposedly helping her cousin. She picked up, but there was noise in the background. Music, clinking glasses, laughter. And not the kind you hear at a family dinner. This was something else. I asked where she was, and she said, still at Fon's house, big family, many cousins, and laughed like I was being paranoid. I tried to let it go. Told myself I was just tired, that Thai families are different, closer, louder, less private. But I was starting to notice a pattern. Another night we were walking back to her place after dinner at that Korean BBQ joint near Hoi Kaiao. I mentioned something about flying her out to Bali in January, make it a couple's trip. She smiled and said, maybe, but let's see how things go. That caught me off guard. Before she'd been excited about plans. She used to say things like, wherever you go, I'll follow. Now it was, let's see. And then the slip happened. We were sitting on her couch, scrolling through photos on my phone. I showed her a selfie I took at the Sunday night market. She laughed and said, you look like Mark in this one. I froze. She tried to brush it off, said she meant Marco, just got tongue-tied. But my name isn't Mark. No one calls me that. It stuck in my head like a splinter. But even then, I didn't confront her. I told myself maybe Mark was a friend. A name that popped into her head from a movie. I even blamed it on the language barrier, even though she spoke better English than most of my co-workers. That's how far I was reaching. I could feel the tide shifting. The warmth in her eyes wasn't there all the time anymore. Her touch felt lighter, her hugs shorter. But every time I started to pull back, she'd reel me in with just enough sweetness to make me question my doubts. A kiss on the cheek, a gentle thank you for being so good to me. A message late at night. You are the kindest man I ever met. And I swallowed it whole. Because I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. I had already invested too much. Not just money, but hope. And once you've bet everything on someone, it's easier to keep playing than admit you've already lost. It was around the 22nd or 23rd of December, right before Christmas, when June invited me to what she called a Thai-style holiday gathering. She made it sound like a family tradition, told me it wouldn't be on Christmas Day because her relatives were busy then. She said, we do early celebration, not like Western Christmas. It's more about family, food, giving thanks. I thought, great. This is it, the big moment. I'd bought gifts for everyone already, wrapped and labelled. I even rehearsed a few polite phrases in Thai so I wouldn't come off like just another clueless Farang. I had this image in my head of walking in with her, being greeted warmly, maybe even toasted as the thoughtful foreign boyfriend who understood their culture. Instead, what I got felt like walking into someone else's party completely uninvited. She told me to meet her at her aunt's house just outside the old city. I took a grab, dressed halfway between business casual and cool uncle. I brought wine. The driver dropped me off on a side street, and I had to follow the sound of music through a maze of alleys before I finally found the place. It was a modest, 2-story concrete house with plastic chairs and folding tables set up in the driveway. Karaoke blaring. Kids running barefoot. The smell of grilled chicken and sticky rice hanging in the air. When I walked in, no one really looked up. A few people glanced at me, then went right back to eating or talking. I smiled, nodded, tried to greet them in Thai. One old guy squinted at me like I was the utility guy who showed up on the wrong day. June waved me over from the kitchen, gave me a quick side hug, then handed me a plate. She said she was busy helping Auntie and would sit with me later. I found an empty seat near the corner between a silent teenager glued to his phone and an old woman who just stared at my shoes. I waited, tried to make small talk, failed. June never came back to sit with me. Every time I looked up, she was moving between tables, laughing, refilling drinks, passing out plates. She was in her element, talking fast, hugging cousins, posing for selfies. None of those smiles were for me. I eventually placed the wrapped gifts on a table by the karaoke machine, trying not to feel stupid. No one said thank you. No one even opened them. They just sat there, gathering condensation from the air. An hour in, I got up and found June near the back of the house, crouched next to a cooler. She looked up, surprised, like she forgot I was even there. I asked if she wanted to head out soon. She laughed, shook her head and said, "I stay late tonight. You go first if you want. It's family time." So I left. I walked through the night streets of Chiang Mai alone, the sound of Thai pop music echoing behind me. I passed a food stall selling fried bananas and a tuk-tuk driver singing Jingle Bells off-key. I wasn't angry yet, just hollow, like I'd shown up to a wedding and realised I wasn't on the guest list. I told myself it was a cultural difference, that I'd misunderstood what the evening was supposed to be, that I was being overly sensitive. But deep down, I knew something had shifted. I wasn't the guest of honour. I wasn't even a guest. I was just the guy who bought the presents. The next morning, December 24th, I texted June around 9 a.m. Just a simple, "Good morning, hope you got home okay." No reply. Not after an hour. Not after 2. I told myself she was tired, sleeping in after the party, maybe helping clean up. I sent another message around noon asking if she wanted to grab lunch. Still nothing. By mid-afternoon, the silence was ringing in my ears. We'd never gone this long without at least a quick "I'm busy" or thumbs up sticker. I started pacing the apartment. Tried to read. Tried to nap. Around 3 p.m, I called her. Straight to voicemail. I waited another hour. Then I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I walked back to her coffee stall. It was closed. Locked up tight. Cart pushed to the side. Chairs stacked. That in itself wasn't unusual. It was Christmas Eve. Maybe she was taking the day off. But still, my stomach felt like it was folding in on itself. I texted again. This time, something more direct. "Hey, just want to make sure you're okay. I'm worried." No read receipt. No seen. Nothing. I messaged Fawn, the cousin. I didn't have her saved in my contacts, but she'd once added me online after I bought her that handbag. I wrote, "Hey, sorry to bother you. Just wondering if you've seen June today." 10 minutes later, she replied with one word. "She goes south." No punctuation. No follow-up. South. I stared at that message like it was written in code. I asked what she meant, but she didn't respond. I tried calling again, still voicemail. I even went by the apartment building June said she lived in, the one where we had dinner that night after I gave her the espresso machine. I stood outside and rang the number she gave me. Nothing. No lights on in the unit. No sound. Just silence. By the time the sun dipped behind Doi Suthep, the realization was settling in, thick and bitter. She was gone. Not taking space, not with family. Gone. And I was the last one to figure it out. I walked home through the tourist crowds, past backpackers in Santa hats and kids taking selfies in front of a giant inflatable snowman outside Maya Mall. People looked happy, laughing, in love. I felt like I'd stepped out of time, like everyone was in on a party I'd been tricked into setting up only to be told I wasn't invited. That night I didn't go out, didn't even turn on the lights. I sat in the dark with my phone face up on the coffee table, screen lighting up the room every so often with a spam email or a grab food promo. Not one of them was from her, and deep down, I knew they never would be again. I woke up Christmas morning in a quiet apartment that didn't feel like mine anymore. The air was still, heavy. Chiang Mai had one of those grey-blue skies that makes the heat feel colder somehow. I rolled over and checked my phone, knowing what I wouldn't find, but doing it anyway like a bad habit. No calls, no messages, just the same string of blue ticks from me to her, dangling like open wounds. I kept thinking she'd break the silence. Maybe not with an apology, but something. A quick Merry Christmas. A voice note saying she was sorry for the distance. Anything to give me a thread to hold on to. But there was nothing. I got dressed and went for a walk, mostly because I didn't know what else to do. The streets were dressed up for tourists. Plastic wreaths, glittery fake snow on store windows, some Thai guy in a Santa suit handing out flyers for a pizza place. I wandered aimlessly until I ended up at a Western-style cafe on Nimun that I'd gone to once before. It was trying way too hard to be cosy. American Christmas music on a loop, staff in elf hats, a holiday ham special that smelled like microwaved sadness. I ordered it anyway. Couldn't taste a thing. All around me were families, couples, people FaceTiming relatives back home. A German guy next to me clinked glasses with his Thai girlfriend and whispered something that made her blush. Across the room, a British family in matching Christmas pyjamas was taking photos in front of a crooked little tree by the register. I sat there eating dry ham and spooning cold mashed potatoes into my mouth like it was a punishment. I kept refreshing her Facebook page. She'd set it to private, but her profile picture was different now, one I hadn't seen before. A mirror selfie. Same phone I bought her, same necklace I gave her mother, and a guy in the background. Bare shoulders. Tattoo on the bicep. Looked like he was laughing at something off camera. It was cropped tight, like she wasn't trying to show him, but not trying not to either. I stared at that photo for a long time, tried to tell myself it could be her cousin, maybe a friend, someone crashing on her couch, but it didn't feel like that. I knew it. Deep down, I knew. I didn't cry. I didn't throw my phone or make a scene. I just sat there, breathing in the smell of burnt cinnamon syrup and peppermint mocha, watching the world continue like I didn't exist. Like none of it ever happened. Later that evening, I walked back to the apartment. I passed a guy on a bicycle dressed as Santa, ringing a little bell. He waved. I waved back out of reflex. The sound echoed for a few seconds, then faded into nothing. And that was Christmas. Not angry, not tragic, just silent. The days after Christmas felt like one long hangover, but without the alcohol. I didn't leave the apartment much, just sat around, replaying conversations in my head, scrolling through our old texts like they were some kind of puzzle I could solve if I stared long enough. There wasn't any dramatic ending, no breakup speech, no big reveal, just a slow dissolve, like someone erasing my name off a chalkboard letter by letter. A few days after the 25th, I decided to walk by the coffee stall. I didn't know what I was expecting. Maybe it'd still be shuttered. Maybe I'd find her standing there, smiling like nothing happened. I just needed to see it. When I turned the corner, the stall was open. But it wasn't hers anymore. The name had changed. New logo, new colours. Gone was the sleek matte black with the modern minimalist vibe we'd worked on together. In its place was this pink and green cartoon-style branding, like something out of a Korean-themed dessert shop. The espresso machine, the one I bought, was gone, replaced by some off-brand clunker that looked 10 years old. There was a young woman behind the counter I didn't recognise. I asked her if June was around. She gave me this look, half polite, half uncomfortable, and said, "She goes south." That was it. No explanation, no eye contact, like she'd been told not to say more. I nodded, thanked her, and walked off, but everything inside me was churning. I felt stupid, used. Worse than that, I felt invisible. All the work I did for that stall, the equipment, the branding, the hours I spent sitting beside her while she frothed milk and flirted with regulars, gone like it never mattered. Later that afternoon I went to the police station, not because I thought I'd get justice, but because I needed someone, anyone, to validate that what happened wasn't okay. I brought my receipts, bank transfers, screenshots, even photos of the espresso machine. The officer at the desk skimmed through the paperwork, barely interested. When I told him I'd given her nearly 200,000 baht over 2 months, his first question was, "She your wife?" I said no. He shrugged. "She promised to pay back?" "No," I admitted. Another shrug. "Then not scam. You give gift." That was it. Case closed. My generosity had been legally reclassified as stupidity. I left the station with a knot in my chest that wouldn't go away. I didn't want her arrested. I didn't even want the money back. I just wanted someone, anyone, to say I wasn't crazy, that this wasn't love, that I hadn't imagined everything. But no one did. And when I looked back at it all, the gifts, the tears, the "you're already family" lines, I realised she never actually lied. Not outright. She never said she loved me, never promised to stay. She just let me connect the dots myself and smiled while I filled in the blanks. A couple nights after the police station, I found myself standing outside a gas station on the edge of Nimon, trying to decide if I should eat or just crawl back into my bed and disappear. I hadn't really eaten a proper meal in days. Nothing tasted right, nothing sat right. But the smell of garlic and basil coming from the street food stall near the pump island finally broke me down. I ordered a plate of pad krapao with a fried egg and sat on one of those flimsy blue stools with a cracked plastic table across from a metal rack holding 6 dusty bottles of condiments. It cost 50 baht, probably the cheapest thing I'd spent money on since meeting June. As I sat there picking at the rice with my spoon, I stared out at the road. A couple of drunk tourists stumbled by laughing, one of them wearing a Santa hat that was starting to slide off his head. A Thai kid in a school uniform zoomed past on a motorbike way too big for him. The world was moving on like nothing had happened, like Christmas had come and gone and everyone had gotten what they wanted, except me. I opened my phone again. I don't know why. Hope, habit, maybe both. Her Line account was still gone. Her Facebook hadn't changed. Same photo, Same tattooed arm in the background. I zoomed in, tried to convince myself it was nothing. Cousin. Friend. Guy from the gym. I kept lying to myself because the alternative hurt more than I wanted to admit. I looked at the photo of her holding the iced latte I made for her at her old stall, the one where she said, "You make it better than me." I actually believed her. I really thought we had that kind of chemistry, like we were some team building a future in a coffee-scented dream. Turns out I was just another part of the furniture in her story. Something convenient. Something to be used, then replaced. But the thing that hurt most wasn't the money. Not the espresso machine or the necklace, or even the phone. It was the silence. No goodbye. No explanation. Not even a lie to make me feel better. Just gone. I finished the plate, thanked the cook, and walked home in a fog. No music in my ears, no podcasts, just the sound of sandals on pavement and the thud of my own heartbeat in my chest. Back in the apartment, I stood by the window for a long time, looking out over the city. The lights of Chiang Mai twinkled like they had on my first night in town, except now they didn't feel full of promise. They felt distant, foreign, cold. I should have packed my bags right then and there, but I didn't. Because deep down, I still hoped she might call, even just to lie to me. That's how far gone I was. I stayed in Chiang Mai through New Year's. I told myself it was because flights were expensive or because I didn't want to make big decisions while emotional. The truth was simpler and uglier. Leaving felt like admitting I'd been fooled. Staying let me pretend there was still some dignity left in the whole thing. I went back to my routine like nothing happened. Gym in the morning, coffee at places I knew she'd never walk into, laptop open, pretending to work while my mind kept drifting back to October when I thought I'd stumbled into something real. I avoided her street, avoided one Nimmen. Like geography itself might reopen the wound. Every once in a while I'd catch myself rehearsing conversations with her in my head, calm ones, mature ones. The kind where she explains everything and I nod like I understand. In those imaginary talks, she always had a reason. Fear, confusion, bad timing, something that made it all make sense. She never just used me. I needed to believe that. But reality doesn't care what you need. I flew back to the States in February. Same airport, same long walk to baggage claim, same feeling of stepping back into a life that was supposed to be familiar. My friends asked how Thailand was. I said it was an experience. My co-workers asked if I felt refreshed. I said I was grateful for the time off. No one asked about June. No one knew she existed. Sometimes I wonder if she ever thinks about me. Not in a guilty way, just at all. If she remembers the guy who bought the espresso machine, who believed every word she said, who spent Christmas alone eating cold food in a foreign country while she disappeared into someone else's life. I don't hate her. That's the part that bothers me the most. I should. It would make this cleaner, easier. But I don't. I just hate the version of myself who thought love was something you could prove with receipts. So yeah, that was my Christmas in Thailand. If anyone's still reading this and thinking about doing the same thing I did, going all in because it feels right, just slow down. Pay attention to what's being said, and more importantly, what isn't. Some lessons don't come with warnings, they come with bills. That was Marco's story, a Christmas he'll never forget for all the wrong reasons. He came to Chiang Mai looking for peace, maybe even love, and ended up alone, broke and ghosted by the woman he trusted most. Was June a pro who saw him coming from the start? Or did Marco just fall too fast, too hard, and ignore every warning sign? Let us know what you think in the comments. Would you have seen it coming? If you've got a story of your own, a hard lesson, a close call, or something you wish you'd known before coming to Thailand, send it in. Thanks for watching Inside Thailand. Hit like if this story hit a nerve, and subscribe for more real stories from expats, travellers, and the people who learned things the hard way. We'll see you in the next one.